Hey guys, welcome to Traditional Bow Hunting Wilderness Podcast. It's super windy out here today. It's right here. I got this camera kind of set up this way, but super windy day. What we want to be doing is making sure that we are testing broadhead flight. Okay, we want to be testing out broadheads and how they're going to fly two different ways, so that we're good when we're shooting in the wind, and we're also good when we're shooting in the rain and the wind, which is two of the worst conditions to be hunting in. So what we're going to do, you actually can see it blowing right on my hand. It's breezy here today. Now we are kind of tucked in here a little bit as far as this stuff, but I mean the winds are over 30-mile-an-hour gusts, and they're blowing everything around. But what's interesting here is it creates this weird vortex in here. Like two of the plants have already blown over earlier, but they didn't blow that way, which is the way the wind's going. They've blown over this way. So you can hear my door banging open over here. My shed doors, I had to, reclose them because they were flopping around. Like I said, it's a very windy day, and we want to see what that broadhead will do in these kind of conditions to test your stuff. This is one of my razor heads. Okay, this is one of those razor broadheads, and it's one of my practice ones that I use. I dedicate this head 100% for practice. So this head doesn't, it's dulled out pretty good. I only use it as practice, but mandatory that you practice with your broadheads regularly, but also in these conditions. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to wait for a good gust, which you'll be able to see. I'll get it set up, and we're going to shoot this and make sure we know it's going to dance around. I mean, heck, like I said, just hold it in my hand. You can see it dancing around. It's moving, okay? So we know it's going to dance. We know it's going to move around. We know it's going to do stuff. But we want to make sure that head is going to hit where we want it to. It may do this in the wind. It may be flopping and floating and doing things. But as long as it hits where we want into the target, that's what we're after. That's our goal. Because you can't stop the wind. You can't stop it. You can't get it to fly perfect in the wind. It's going to be doing some weird stuff. As long as the arrow's hitting, the head's hitting where I want, I'm a happy guy. Same thing when we mat down these feathers for that water. We will then, you might get a little weird flight with the arrow, okay, with wet feathers, not quite controlling your fighting a broadhead, but as long as I'm putting that arrow where I want, then I'm good. As long as it's getting there, even, I don't care if it's got a little bit of wiggle, as long as it's making it. So that's our goal and the things that we want to find out. So we're going to wait till we get a real good gust here, and I'll show it to you, and then we're going to go ahead and shoot. So, all right, be right there. All right, you can see the targets there, right? Yeah, so you're good here. Right with me? Okay. So we're just going to wait for that good gust to come in. That's all we're waiting on, for a real good breezy gust. All right, there we go. In that good wind. Got that wind whipping around, and it puts that arrow right where I want it. That broadhead's going right there, even with that wind. That's what we want to prove. Let's go grab it. All right, we got another big gust happening right now. Let's try it one more time here. See it dance a little more. Can see it. It's going. All right, here comes another big gust. We're going for shot number 3. Big gust right here. So all 3 of those are kill shots. I had no choice but to cut this video in between, because I'm waiting for these big hitter gusts to come in like that. But that's 3 of them in there. That one being a titch to the left, but that's me. But all 3 are kill shots with that broadhead. You can see it dance a little bit on the way down there, but it's still hitting exactly where I want, even with these really high winds coming through here. Most of that wind is coming right in through this way and blowing right back in here through that. So they're working very well. Now let's soak them down and try that. So let me go get it, and we'll soak it down and show you. Okay, so I went and I soaked them down with the garden hose and matted that down as low as I can get that. I mean, look at that. There's basically nothing there. Okay, now, I mean, so this is the worst conditions that you could ever be shooting arrows in, is this kind of scenario where you got high winds that are going to help steer this and grab that broadhead and bounce around the back end, and very little stabilization on here. But we hunt these conditions. If you're hunting in the rain in Kansas, this is a pretty common occurrence, okay, this kind of stuff like that. So this is not abnormal, but it's important to know what your stuff's going to do. Expecting this arrow to fly perfectly, you're asking way too much. It's just not possible. But expecting it to hit where you want to is 100% acceptable and possible. That's okay. That's the advantage of shooting a little higher FOC and having your arrows tuned well and that kind of stuff. You're gonna fight this a little bit and fight that broadhead, but this is an expectation that I have. I expect this arrow to hit. We're gonna wait for a good gust to come in. When it does, I'll turn the camera on. We're gonna go ahead and shoot it. All right, here we go. We got a good gust. Right there, exactly like we're looking for. We're gonna wait for one more good gust, test it again. All right, we got another good gust going in right now too, so it's the second shot with that wet broadhead. See what I mean? See it kicking a little bit, but we're still there. We're right in that kill zone, so it's still working. We're gonna do one more. You can see those feathers are still, this is the third shot, but you can see those feathers are still completely gone and matted down. I mean, they are nothing compared to what my feathers should be like to that. All we're waiting on, another good gust of wind. Once that starts moving through here, actually, yeah, here we go. Here we go. All right, so this will be our third and final shot with this. Do we get it? No. I don't want it just up there. I want to see it coming through here. I hear when the chimes go, I see it come ripping through, and I want it to be real. I want that real good wind. So we're gonna just wait another second. Like I said, it's breezy out here. It's definitely breezy. You can see everything moving around. It's blowing through here, but I want those good hard gusts. All right, we'll be right back as soon as it gets here. All right, here we go. Here we go, big gusts. Do you see that one and that wind? See how that went all over the place, up, down, and bounced around? That's what I'm talking about, but look it. That's still a dead shot right there. That's still a heart shot, okay? That's what we want to know. We want to make sure that can happen. I'll even do one more for you with this wet broadhead, but the key is that your arrow's going to dance. We just need to make sure it's going where it's supposed to in these conditions. We'll go grab it, do one more. All right, for the fourth and final one, I just wet those again. So they are soaked down even flat, again, flat as you can be. All we're waiting for is that wind gust to come in. As soon as we get it again, we're going to do one more. Let that wind and the little feathers be influenced by that broadhead as long as we're hitting where we want. Here we go. Here we go. Right there. I mean, that's what I'm talking about right there. You're going to get a little dance, but it's going to do the job. Let's zoom in here and you can see what I'm talking about here. See what I mean? That's as far in as I can zoom. I'll walk you over there. But that's exactly what we're talking about, is you're going to get a little wiggle. Look at the angle that arrow's kind of hitting on compared to the angle from where I'm shooting. So here's a straight line of where I'm shooting at. Let me zoom you here and set you. But from the camera, this is the exact angle I was shooting at. And you can see how that angle is, that arrow is kicked a little bit to the left. Okay, well that's the way the wind is going, is across this, that way. So to be expected, it's going through, that wind is whipping through this way like that. So, but there it is, and that's what that's doing, is telling us that we're gonna be okay. I mean, you can see where all these hits are here. You know, where these broadhead hits have been hitting here, but having that head be able to fly good when it's soaked and matted down like that, that's vital. Being able to test your broadheads in the wind, test your broadheads in when they're wet, test your broadheads, test them, test them, test them. Don't bare shaft test them. I don't think that's valuable, okay? I don't think it's a value to actually, let me roll that a little bit so you can see me a little more here. But I do not feel that it's a real value to bare shaft shoot your broadheads. I've done it before in videos just to prove that it can be done. There's no point to it. But trust your feathers, know what you're gonna do with it, understand what it's capable of. Again, you can see how fast it's starting to dry out now out here. But you know, shoot them soaking wet, shoot them in windy conditions, shoot them. If you're gonna hunt in the wind, practice with a broadhead in the wind and know what it's gonna do. Okay, don't expect perfect arrow flight when it's like it is out here right now. I mean, you can't take it and expect it to fly like you want it to. It's gonna have a little dancing and a little wiggling around, whatever it's gonna do. But as long as the head is heavy enough and the weight leads, that arrow is gonna go where it wants, where you're trying to put it. Same with when it's wet down, when the feathers are soaked down and matted down, you have that weight. There's enough feather on the tail when they're matted down flat that it's gonna dance more but it's still going to get there because the weight leads. The weight's at where the power is for you. So just a little tip for you, a little understanding of this video on how to make sure you're going to get the most out of your broadhead flight. But the last thing you want to do is be going into Kansas or going into someplace that's windy, and then you go to shoot and you shoot, and next thing you know, your arrow's way off course because it's not tuned right to handle that kind of wind, or you don't know what it's going to do. Or in the rain, you go to shoot in the rain and you shoot and your arrow just does this and flips and flops and isn't going there. You want to know what your equipment does in the rain. If you shoot this test in the rain, or you shoot either one of these, if you're shooting your arrows in high windy conditions and they're not hitting where you still want them to in the wind, even though they're dancing a little, like I said, you'll get a little dancing around, but as long as they're hitting where you want, if they're not doing that, if you're going to be hunting in the wind, change something. Go to a higher FOC, even if it's only for that particular hunt you're going on. Say you're heading out to Nebraska for whitetails or something, or for mule deer, and you're going to be dealing with these high winds that are here. Then use a higher FOC arrow tip on there, so you get that advantage of that control in the wind. If you hunt in the rain a lot, same kind of thing. Use that higher FOC to give you that control where that weight will lead. The back will dance, but the weight leads, and that weight is taking it. It's just like throwing a dart. It's like taking a dart at a dartboard and throwing a dart at a dartboard. You can throw them this way, you can throw them this way, you can throw them. It doesn't matter, because as soon as that dart leaves your hand, the weight, the back end will stabilize as it does, but the weight is what leads. That's why you grab it and you throw them, and the weight is what leads. Same thing on a high FOC arrow. The weight leads. And for me, this type of a setup, I am running a 200 grain 3-inch long insert inside of here and a 250 grain head. That's 450 grains up front for a total arrow weight of 700 grains on a 27-inch arrow. Okay, this arrow is very high FOC, 31.5% FOC on this thing is where we're balancing at. Okay, I mean, it's pretty incredible FOC on here. But what it does is it gives me that weight leads effect and lets me get that arrow exactly where I want it in the rain, in the wind, in every condition, everything. Even if my arrow dances a little bit on the back end because it's so light out here, I don't care. The weight's pulling it exactly where I want. So, little tip for you, something to think about. Test your broadheads. Thanks for watching.